Welcome back, Watchmen. Let's analyze. The morning offered a glimpse of a gilded future, but it proved to be a mining mirage. We chased the shimmering promise into the pre-market heights, only to find a scorched earth awaiting our return. Pre-market opened around 62 cents and held flat through the dark of the morn. Shortly before daybreak, a mining deal decree hit the wires, sparking an intense rally from the floor. The advance was halted just below 70 cents as the first light broke, leading to a retreat that found a temporary footing by early morning. A final attempt to reclaim the mid-60 ramparts was rejected as the bell was preparing to toll, forcing a slow fade into the open. The market opened at 64 cents, when immediate supply triggered a downward march. We found the first bounce at 61 cents shortly after the start of the session, but the rebound was crushed at the 64 supply wall by mid-morning. A second defense of the 61 line held as the morning progressed, yet the following rally failed at the 63-cent mark before midday. By lunch, a third test of the 61-cent floor was noticeably weaker, leading to a stagnant period at the 62 level that lasted into the early afternoon. Downward momentum resumed in the mid-afternoon, breaching the demand that had held us up until that point. A final defensive stand occurred late in the day at the 60-cent floor, where price remained pinned until the final minutes. A small closing rally moved the line to the 61-cent mark, ending the session as the closing bell rang. Today's mining deal provided the fuel for a spectacular raid, but the lack of sustained volume left the vanguard stranded. The market continues to treat new developments as temporary skirmishes rather than a change in the war's tide. The promise of the morning has been reclaimed by the dirt. We retreat to the trenches and prepare for tomorrow's watch. Now, a little bit about this mining deal. DVLT has partnered with ASM, American Strategic Minerals, launched a 78.2 million, I think it was 78.2, project tokenizing antimony in Arizona. This deal uses Data Vault's technology to create somewhere up to $2 billion in digital tokens backed by mineral reserves, helping the United States to reduce its dependence on foreign sources for defense materials. DVLT can earn a 20% ownership stake in the company by hitting specific goals, effectively turning the mining assets into secured digital investments. This system will set the stage for tokenizing other valuable resources like gold, silver, and other rare earth elements in the future. Now, we can move to the Watchtower window and view the charts. Alright, here, looking at the daily, you can see this red candle here looks pretty close, pretty similar to the one we saw yesterday. It opened a little bit higher and closed just a little bit higher. It's not very reassuring for those that are losing faith, but the groundwork is being laid for the future of this ticker. Let's go ahead and dive a little deeper. We have some things to look at on the hourly, and we will see first that this zone here, this is actually a 15-minute zone. I'll zoom in and look at that too. The zone from yesterday was crushed in pre-market session, but another one opened right immediately afterwards with the release of the mining deal. Now you see this wick coming through here. Why didn't I close this zone out? This is an hourly zone, and the wick is not going to close it. Now we want to see an hour or 15-minute close above the halfway mark to cancel out this zone. So I'm leaving it here. We're still going to still probably see some resistance here when we get back to 63, 67, 68, 69 area. Now, okay, so this zone started at the open and was retested soon after. We'll see that. We'll zoom into the 15-minute. Actually, let's do that now. Let's go ahead and zoom in to the 15-minute chart. And we can see the new zone that was opened here. And we see that it came down here. This is our first bump one. And we came back to the supply and got rejected here, came back for a second bump, it's a little lower, and the third bump was even lower. Now at this point, you definitely don't want to take these trades right here. This is, once you see that the highs, you're getting lower highs, you don't count on this zone anymore. But if you had, let's say we were going based off the open, we know that this zone opened in the pre-market and came up here. So we opened here with the supply zone, come down and we bounce. If we had set a long position here, using the bottom of the zone as a stop, then we take profit here right at 1.5, right at the entrance of this where the supply zone is, and you got a 1.5 to 1 ratio quick day trade right there. Now if you wanted to go the opposite way, it's not going to end up being worth it. Let's see what this looks like. If we put a short position here, put a short position after this, and use this as the stop on the other side of this supply zone. Now our target is going to be right here above this demand that we know is here, and we only get a 1.26 risk to reward ratio. That's not even worth taking. I wouldn't take this trade. You know, I'm not going to short DVLT anyway, but if I were for day trading, then this trade wouldn't have been worth it. But we could have made a little bit off of the first little bounce for any of you scalpers out there. Now, okay, so we came down, we bounced around between it, didn't quite get back up, and then we broke this zone down here. We came down this way, and we came back down into the big demand here at the bottom. And since we're tracking this now, let me see here. I'm going to go ahead and move this down, since whatever orders were here were absorbed. Alright, so we can look down here, getting closer to this line. We really don't want this to break. If we do, this zone will be nullified, and then the next zone is an old zone, but it's still it checks out. A little Star Wars reference there. We get 478 to 41, which is pretty much the last line of defense until we get down to the all-time lows down around 25 cents, whatever it is. So hopefully we don't have to try this out, but it is there. We do have another line of defense down at the bottom if this ends up breaking. Alright, so let's go ahead and dive deeper to the 5-minute chart and honor the candle of the day. I know it doesn't really look like there is one today. We're going to call this little last guy right here the closing candle. He's the candle of the day. Good job, little guy. I'm calling that not because he had a lot of volume. We didn't really have a lot of volume today anyway, but it was a call to arms before the closing bell, just like we had yesterday. It was not quite as strong, but it got us out of this little slump that we were at here at the end of the day. A little reverse in momentum. You can see in after hours we kind of bounced around a little higher too. So we'll just see, you know, maybe we're going to get a delayed reaction on that news, and we'll get something tomorrow for Friday. We'll back out so we can do a forecast on what I think we're going to see. We do have a very common happening of skipping a day when we get news like this, so it's possible that tomorrow will be the day that we get the rally from it. It is also Friday. We do have some pretty crazy Fridays sometimes, but that's not a mathematical probability that I'm going to base that on. Now, going off of momentum with this mining deal, I think, like I said, it's going to be a delayed reaction. We're going to come up here, we're going to test this, and one of two things. We're going to either end up being a little lower, a little bit slightly green, but a little lower, or if we can get some good volume on it, we'll test it and break it, where we'll come back to test this other supply zone and then do something similar to this. Now, of course, we could get there's a scenario C and D where, you know, we get a crazy amount of volume and we just come way up here to the heavens, as the lady would say. We could also have a very bad day and have a little fake out thing here and test this zone and come down here to dive into this demand zone a little bit more. And I know we're all hoping that's not the case, but it is. These are four, well, I'll say three possibilities, because I really don't see this one happening, especially with this 20-day right here. We're gonna have to break through that. In addition to the supply zone, it's just not very likely. Could happen, it's not likely. Alright, so we're going to close out the session with that. Go ahead and smash that like button, ring the closing bell to subscribe. Tomorrow the poll's going to close. It looks like Institutional Investment Strategies has quite the lead, so I'm preparing to do that. I already did a Reddit post on it a while back, so I have most of my material already laid out. We're going to talk about the different types of investment strategies, what they look for, what kind of trades they take, where they how they function, and which ones are good for us and which ones don't really matter. And so, with all that being said, we will close the session, and until the end of all things, the Night Watch stands forever.